Sorry, I was running a little late today. Today, I've been stuck doing a lot of graphic design and digital work today, so I didn't really have time to plan much. But today, I'm going to just work on some sketching technique that I use all the time. Like, this is what I will do in my sketchbook over and over and over, and I'll just create characters and faces and different uh, designs and this is where I can just kind of be free and just draw what comes to mind instead of having to have a predetermined outcome. I'm just kind of going with the flow and reacting to what's in front of me, and it's good. It's good. It's been a tough day, let me say. I've been banging my head against the wall doing some of this digital work. One of the things I'm trying to get back into a little bit, and I posted a piece yesterday, is more of like a digital painting technique. And it goes purely from form. So, as you can see, these are all lines, and I use a mechanical pencil, and I've been using one for, oh, I don't know, probably 15 years now. Um, and I tend to think line first. And digital painting is the opposite of that, really. It's creating form with shadow instead of and lighting instead of trying to create something from total, like constructing it from lines and different graphic techniques that I've learned over the years that have become part of my style and how I draw and how I define a shape in space. I also wanted to be able to just talk a little bit more broadly about drawing because I'll be going into a local school next week. And what I'll be doing is talking about art. And, I go to colleges and schools and really just try to impart the idea to not just the students, but the faculty as well. Because, where I went to school, they never told you art could be a job. Like, they never told you that you could go and draw someplace and people will pay you to do that. But this is like what I do in my sketchbook. This right here, I mean, this is just free. I'm trying to come up with interesting shapes and things, and I'm using my blue pencil. As you can see, pick my light source. And these are just thought exercises. I'll be working, you know, on any number of projects at any given time. And these are the types of things that I will work on and do studies for. And I save them in my brain for like, hey, this is something that I can use later. Because you can only observe and come up with so much stuff on the fly that it's good to have books, always have sketchbooks going. It's good to always have um, Just scratch paper, just ideas, jotting ideas down. I'm not seeing any chat, but you know, there are people here watching. So. But this is how I come up with that age-old question that everyone asks, like, where do you get your ideas? We all have like a few stock actors that we can cast in different roles in a comic book, but I really do try to come up with new people whenever I can. And that's something that's very hard for me on the fly. Like when someone says, "Hey Tim, good to see you, man. Long time. Hope everything's going well on your end of the internet." Yeah, not doing any famous comic characters tonight. Just doing some sketching techniques. This is the type of stuff this is the less glamorous stuff that, let's see if I can get the light a little better for you. Also, being in a different mindset all day doing digital artwork, it's tough to bounce back and forth between comics and either graphic design or digital drawing. Good. I'm glad things are well in Tim's world. The camera keeps bouncing. I don't know why. Usually it's pretty good. Maybe it's because the cord is being funny. See if that helps. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Desiree. I did get the big proposal over to NEC. Like we did all kinds of character artwork and story proposals. Jeff and I put our heads together to come up with something really good that hopefully NEC will give us the go ahead on. Haven't heard anything back. They said they got it and they were reviewing it. So fingers crossed at this point. But this is, one of the things that's hard, when you're drawing digitally as compared to doing something on paper, at least for me, is constantly switching tools. Even when I did oil painting all the time, I had like 3 brushes that I did almost all my oil painting with back in the day. I hope so. I think the story is really good, and I think it would really there'd be some real good surprises for old school Tick fans, and it would be a good jumping on point for people to check it out because that's one of the things with the Tick because it hasn't had a regular book in a while. Like you gotta make it accessible. I just got an email from my buddy Joe St. Pierre that I got to do his. Somebody bought the piece from the Kickstarter and they wanted a shredder drawing. Shredder's one of those characters that I think I end up drawing like one at every convention, even though I don't remember. I don't think he's on any of the covers I ever did. He was dead for a while, or they thought he was dead. And then they did that Shredder in Hell series. Yeah. Again, this is something that this is the type of stuff that yeah, it'll be Joe inking it. Joe inked a piece of mine once before, and I don't think I ever saw the finished product. I'll have to bother him about that. It is definitely warm in the studio today, let me tell you. This is the first day I would say is hot. When I'm doing these sketches, I'm always trying to think of like little storytelling bits, like maybe a scar on his chin or on his cheek, or, it's a different way to show a little more character in his face. It was very warm. It is warm right now. Let's give him like some sort of like family crest. I just really needed a free sketch tonight. Normally, I like to do like a giveaway or a sketch cover. I'm doing all those sketch covers for Ruben. I think I've only got two left, and then I can finally mail those to him. And I did over 50 sketch covers for this project, this mystery box that he's been working on. And I have no idea how much he's put out there or how much I'm allowed to talk about it, but I did a crap ton of work on it, and we've got like one big surprise lined up, which is pretty neat. That I won't spoil, but I can tell you that I did a whole bunch of sketch covers, and some of them are ones I worked on the stream. Some of them are ones that I just did watching TV or, at night, late at night, early in the morning. It's 84 in your house right now? Yeah, that's pretty warm. It's pretty warm. I don't have a thermometer in my office because I think it would just make me angrier. Okay, well, we've got this kind of like, I would describe this guy as being a little gruff, like a little older fella. Yeah, yeah, I do not have AC in the office. I don't think I've had AC in my like where I in my workspace in a very long time. Not since I had a full-time day job gig, um, working in the city. This paper, the paper I'm using is a just a mixed media paper, so I can actually go in with like wet media, and the stuff works really well. If I wanted to put just a quick wash over it and do some cool effects that way. Let me see if I have my wash brush. Hold on, 1 second. I have no idea if there's anything in these. I haven't used them in so long. That one's almost pure black. It's got a fair amount in it. Looks like we're just gonna have to wing it. It's all right. We'll just get a pen and have a little fun. One thing that's especially hard for me, especially on on digital artwork, I found lately is scale and making sure that everything lines up correctly. It's a lot easier for me to see on a piece of paper for some reason. Also, I've been using line for so long as the basis of my artwork, obviously with cartoons and comic books, that my instincts are honed to certain things, and I have to abandon some of those fundamental drawing principles. All those instincts go out the window. This is just my Kuretake brush pen. I use it all the time. It has replaced a Raphael as my primary inking tool. A Raphael sable brush. This is sable. This is the more expensive of the two. You can use the other one, but the synthetic, but it doesn't last as long. I wish it did, because it's like half the price, but this is what I really like to do. I like to just come up with when I need to relax and kick my feet up a little bit. Doing compositions is a whole nother level of thinking, and this is just free. Like I can just come up with ideas on paper. This is the fun stuff. Why hasn't anybody heard of these characters? Because I'm just making them up right here. Who knows? This guy might show up in an issue of Helena. Probably will. What do you think? This guy looks like a blacksmith or somebody at a bar. One of the things I like about a brush is you see that nice tapered line, a nice sharp tapered line. When I get that going, I know I can ink pretty well, and that's going how I want it to go. Also, if the ink smudges or I screw up, it's not the end of the world. I don't have to start over or buy someone another sketch cover because I screwed up their sketch cover or something, which has happened. Happened a week ago, I think. One time I lost somebody's sketch cover and I had to order it on eBay. It's true. It's true. And the one I ordered on eBay had become some sort of collectible, so it was not like your usual uh, anywhere from like $6 to $10 sketch cover. That was like a $25 sketch cover. But they sent me one and I lost it, so I had to order a new one. I love just cruising around with the ink brush because like it doesn't have to be perfect. So you get these wonderful little bits of energy that you can just like You can just zoom around and it creates a whole new experience, and it just puts so much uh, zip into it. But this is so fun. I wish I had my freaking water pen filled so I could put some tones on here, but maybe that's something I can do later. You know what? Let's add a cast shadow. Sun's coming from over here. Lights over here. Boom. Put it right there. A little extra contrast. We're going to have a nice cast shadow from his hair. It's going to come down like that. Tonight I'm fast because I'm just having fun. I'm not bogged down with the minutia or the composition. I can just go. I'm just using my instincts and like going with what I know. And this paper is great. Like it's expensive. It's not like cheap paper, but I've been able to find it at Ocean State Job Lot lately, and they've had it on closeout at like $10 a pad. So been able to go a couple times and refill. I'm actually going to leave that open. Did I clear out? No, I feel bad when I buy more than like a couple of pads because I know that someone else will find it and they'll be like, "This is the best paper ever," and then it would inspire them to then make artwork, and that's what I want to do. But I have told other people that like it where it is and where they can get it. I like to share the love for that paper. And it's not always easy to find. It's the Strathmore. Um, it is the Strathmore mixed media paper instead of the Bristol paper, and it's designed to take wet media. Once upon a time, the Bristol paper was designed to take the wet media, like watercolors or markers or ink wash, stuff like that. But they changed their paper, and I didn't find this out until I actually met a person that worked at Strathmore, and he was telling me like, yeah, we made this new line of paper so people could have even better use of watercolor or whatever their chosen medium is that is not dry. And they couldn't sell it. And what I told them was is like I didn't know it existed. Like that was the problem for me. I'm also fast, Brian, from doing all of the 10 million sketches at the NEC booth at New York and San Diego. See, with a brush, you can get like all kinds of interesting textures. I'm thinking this is made out of like a burlap. Like he's got like a burlap neck piece. Let's see if we can do a little smudge. It was poor advertising for sure because, like, everyone I've given this paper to has been just very, very positively, enjoying it. But yeah, we don't have to finish this if we don't want to. We can just take it to whatever point we think it should be taken. And this is where I can just kind of go with my gut and move around. This is how I fill up sketchbooks. This is why I have like a giant stack of full sketchbooks. Oh yeah, there's one face. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. What should we do next? Should we draw like a monster or a lady or a young warrior? I don't know. Just throwing a little extra gray on there. There we go. Let's move it over a little bit. There we go. Is that centered? That looks fairly centered. One thing I like to really push when I'm designing a creature is the proportions of, especially the skull. Um, I don't like it looking necessarily like a person in a suit. There are places for that, and it reads a certain way, and we're so used to it from movies and everything else that like it's part of our visual vocabulary. Like sometimes it doesn't look right unless there's a certain amount of human to it. But we're just having fun in our sketchbook, so we can make it as weird as we need to. Let's give this guy 4 eyes, some big teeth, maybe some horns. Yeah. Right now, I'm just kind of chunking it out. And again, we're just fast and loose. These are just designs. You know, it's a note that we can come back to later and refine and make better and do stuff with it. Let's push his jaw like way out here. I don't like giving a whole bunch of teeth. Like the whole rows of tiny little teeth always looked a little weird to me. Um, if he's got 4 eyes, why don't we give him 4 nostrils? There we go. A little bit of strange symmetry there. This is the type of a video where I probably, in prior years would have, just because I got in late and everything else, probably would have just said, "Ah, I'll see you next week." But nowadays, I'm a little bit more comfortable with just the stream being what it is, letting it happen. Let's give this guy sideburns. I don't know why, but I'm gonna give this monster some sideburns. Nice furry sideburns. Because like if you go really like far with the monster design and then you give it like these little elements of humanity, like if they decorate themselves, if they have piercings, if they have like different ways of representing that they're sentient and there, it's another way to tell more of a story with your character design than to just, stock monster, stock Bigfoot knockoff or whatever. And you do run into the possibility that people won't know what they're looking at. And to be honest, when I'm a reader, I actually really like that. Um, I like seeing stuff that I don't necessarily know how to react to it all the time. One artist that actually gets a good rhythm going when he's working, if you see how fast he goes, is Chris Campana. He gets just flying. I think this has to be down here. There's all kinds of weird little shapes since he's got two sets of eyes. Like you have to have enough room for the little eyebrows, and then you gotta have room for the ridges, and then room for his little schnoz there. Let's have some fun. Let's take a big brush. Hopefully it's in here. Let's just box it in. When you start getting some ink on the paper, the rest of it's a lot less scary. For me, one of the easiest ways to not be so line centric on a piece is to remove some of the places where the line defines your edge. And that's with the color of the background. And we're doing a black and white drawing. So if we throw in some positive space with a black background, we're going to take away some of that need for line. You're not going to see that thick outline around the whole character. I think we'll do three. We'll do these two, and then we'll get another one over here. And I'll try to draw something pretty. It's not my strong suit today. Today's been, like I said, a little rough. All right. Let's see. The purpose of that was to get us going, really get our feet moving. Now we're gonna. I don't know why I started with this one. I just felt I was gonna start with the lower level and then just see if I can. I want to give his skin a different texture too. I don't want it to be smooth. Maybe I'll get the sponge out. But this is the most fun for me. If I could somehow get paid to do this all day, which is just draw a whole bunch of different stuff, people and characters, I think I would do okay. I think I could have fun with that. The other thing about monsters is it doesn't have to all be symmetrical. Maybe we'll knock off like half of this this horn or something. Just give it some character. I spent a long time just developing all the monsters you'll see in the issue of Land of Monsters, those are all out of my sketchbook. I spent just hours and hours because there's just not time when you're sitting down to do pages to do all this design work. Start developing those assets, having them in your, in your memory bank and in your sketchbook so you have them, in reserve. One element I see very often overlooked in an artist's rendition of a face is uh, the way they choose to simplify a person or a character's mouth. Usually, just leave like the actual like lips of the person off, unless it's the shorthand for like a lady. Um, there's just so much character that you can get, like having like just a little crack in the lip. Like that happens to me, like when my lips get like dry in the wintertime, like the corner will get a crack there that I gotta treat. You can just anywhere you can get more character is what I go for. Doesn't always work, and sometimes I overdo it for sure. And sometimes I fall short, but um, I always opt for more character because I think that with like a more subtle set of emotions and a more complex design, instead of having every character overacting in every panel, which I just read a comic book that fell for that, where they're literally yelling in every panel. Um, use a little bit of subtlety. I love comics that have quiet moments in them, and movies just in general. Sometimes those are the best moments. I don't have to be precise, so that's why you can see like I'll just fill it in, see where it gets me. It was very extreme, I gotta say. Was it an image book? No, it wasn't actually, but it was from that era, and it was definitely someone who probably went on to work for the Image Boys. But yeah, they were yelling in every panel. There was not a single character who did not have their mouth like agaped uh, in the entire book on any panel. It was very strange to look at. And I'm being very imprecise here because these are just sketches, you know, and it gives you some really excellent energy. You can just throw that ink in. I see. I wanted that to be smooth because we know the skull is going to be round. See, once you give him, some human characteristics, even though this guy is very grotesque, I would say, it softens him up a little bit. And I love characters like that. I love the scary looking monster guy who is not, always a monster. Hey, does this design work? I don't know. I'll sleep on it. I'll look at it tomorrow and, put it in the sketchbook. And if something comes up that it's right for, I'll give it a shot. But this might be the only time I ever draw this, you know. Um, so you can see what I'm doing is I'm letting the brush do the work here. All those nice little lines. And what I'm doing is I'm coming in with a hard press, and then as I come along, I'm taking some of the pressure off, so it creates all those nice variable lines. I'm actually going to keep both horns. Drawing comics like sequential art, this guy would be tough, drawing, 24 pages of him. It's because there's so much, I don't know, schmutz, as my mother would say. Enjoy the movie, enjoy the air conditioning. Hopefully, they're both equally enjoyable. Thanks for popping in. It's going to be a short one, so we'll probably do one more face over here, and then that'll probably wrap it up. But this is what I enjoy doing. Yeah, good luck. My fear with that movie is that it's just a 2 hour recruiting advertisement, but it's just me. Also, not a huge Tom Cruise guy. I would say that my favorite movie that he's ever done was more of a Paul Newman movie. It's called The Color of Money. So I wanted to add some texture, give him some like eyebrows. See if that does anything. Big game tonight. No, I mean it was really just a tough day. Like I would say that I spent far too long um, today dealing with stuff I didn't want to deal with. But those are the days that you hope it pays off. And I don't know. Was not as optimistic today as I usually am. Usually I get up, I'm ready to roll, and I you know, have a decent idea of what I'm doing. And I didn't have anything planned. I wanted to do a giveaway, but I just like with dinner stuff with the missus, I had to set the stream up very quickly. Let's go in here with this ink again, like we did before. We'll just have some fun. It is a big game tonight, though. I hope that the last game was not indicative of the rest of the series. I didn't think it would be as easy as game one for sure. All right, we got 2 sketches down. Let's do one more. Let's draw a lady. Let's give her like a helmet. Cool helmet. So it's a warrior lady. I spend a lot of time on compositions or like a figure in motion. So like something like this, just where I can just look at that. I can just smudge it. It doesn't matter. There's so much freedom to this type of drawing for me. Some people really don't like design. Like they go into it and um, there's this like it has to be perfect mentality to design. Let's give her like a really strong nose. I'm trying not to do the shorthand for her mouth. Middle of her head. If you're drawing anyone wearing a hat, you have to make sure that you leave enough room, up at the top there for the whole hat. What I want to do is I want to give her some cool face paint too. Why is there this big thing on top of her helmet? I don't know. It looks cool. And it creates a really interesting. Let's put some feathers on there too, yeah. Having a cool silhouette gets you a long way. And being bold with those lines, really going for it. It's something that if you were to draw just the outline of the character, it's really going to stand out no matter who draws it next. One of the greatest collections of designs I ever saw was the style guide for the TMNT animated adventures. Like that stuff was rock solid. The geometry was just beautiful. It was absolutely just like it was designed so well that they could hand it off to like a schmuck like me, and their designs were so good that it was easy to understand. It really was. They broke it down geometrically. They added all kinds of cool little ideas to the Ninja Turtles. And one of the things you'll notice if you go back and you look at those books is anything that was tough to draw, they put a crutch there for someone who was not as good as the person designing it to help them out. Like there's tape on the fingers, there's tape on the elbows. The elbow pads have like these geometric pads on them, so it helps you create more depth without having solid anatomy. Like it was a thing of beauty. Whatever they paid that person to, or those people to draw that style guide, it was worth every penny, probably more. But hey, that's the kind of thing that it's tough to explain when you're reading a comic book. A lot of people talk about good design, bad design, but they never actually explain what that means. Um, they'll give you all these vague descriptions of like, oh, it's eye catching. Oh, you know, it's beautiful. There's all kinds of different ways that they will talk around, not telling you that like because of these really rock solid interconnecting geometric shapes, these are going to work as long as the person who's interpreting them at least knows how to read a style guide. Like they don't have to be the best artist, but if they can read a style guide and they can, you know, yeah, I'm gonna have cool face paint. We're gonna do that in ink, so it's gonna actually bleed through. And what I want to do is I'm gonna have light coming. I know we had our light source over here for these two, but because of the placement of the helmet, what I want to do is I'm gonna basically black it out and have the light coming from over here. Put some cool scroll work on the helmet. This is like a high-ranking officer. And her hair. Let's give her a cool braid. And again, this would be a tough design to do 24 pages of. But if I had like a big battle I had to draw and I wanted to draw like a cool general or something, yeah, let's just make her the general. Let's give her a cool like cape thing. Yeah. All right, cool. All right. Seen our first two. We've got our like rogue warrior guy, we got our monster, and then we've got our general lady. I think that's a pretty solid evening of coming up with some ideas. I want this armor to be a little cleaner, meaning I want it to have like a very metallic, crisp lines. Now I do not have the steadiest hands, so we will do our best. Actually, let's get our other brush out. This is actually an older one, and I pretty much use it just to fill in black space, positive space. And this one is over a year old, and even if I have to, as I'm going, like do a quick line, because it's one of those sable ones I tell people about, like it can still do that. It's not as crisp for like the feathering that you see in here, but it can still do the job. See, that's pretty good. Okay, the light source is over here. Thinking about like on the top of like a Roman soldier's head. See, when you draw big too, you can get all these interesting different lines. It's easier on my eyes, which, you know, not as young as I used to be. And some of these I'm just coming up as I go. Like I was like, oh, what if we have like some cool little metal bindings? They go in opposite directions, but direct the eye towards the crest. Like that's the idea of these little just metal. Like if I colored this in, these would not be as noticeable. They're just little. Get a little smudge. That's all right. See, and if I'm doing a finished drawing, if I smudge something, I get frustrated. But if I'm just doing a sketch, it's no big thing. This is usually what I end up drawing. Like if I'm on a flight or if I'm on the train, I'll draw different people or creatures or whatever. And I've definitely gotten the weird look. Um, Sometimes you get like a kid, a kid or a fan or of comics or video games or something, and they're like, "Oh, cool." But yeah, usually it's a look of next to the weird guy who's drawing monsters the whole way to our destination. Oh, good. Well, I think we can call it. I think we can just call the game at that point. I think that's fair. Hey, look, you know, all the series that went to 7 games, it was, you know, I try not to be the conspiracy theorist guy with sports, but I've never been comfortable with the amount of sports gambling that is now happening. So I have my concerns with everything being on the level. I want to give her strong features. She's got a bigger, like a very straight, more broad nose. I was thinking like a Grecian urn. They do, and I I am not comfortable with like the rampant sports gambling in general. I know people like it. I know it's in Rhode Island. It'll be in Massachusetts eventually. It's a $1 trillion industry, but man, it's just another thing that we were like, sure, let's just gamble on sports now. What I like to do is I like to try to turn it into like a finished piece almost, where you see like the all right. Here's where we're gonna go. When Bob Ross says, this is your gut test. All right, you have this face that you just spent time making very clean and neat and pretty. Now, I want this lady to look awesome with like cool face paint. And this is just coming from the gut. I'm just following some lines. But keeping in mind that like what I want is I want all of the eyes to go towards this crest. Like this is the thing that the design comes to. Want to direct the eye this way. Back to darkening this out. Darken some of our guy's shoulder there, so these two pieces connect a little bit more. I could easily see all three of these just ending up on a journey together of some kind, having to fight on the same side, or maybe they were on different sides. I don't know. But this has been very fun, and this is what I needed to do today. So I really appreciate you guys. We're not quite done yet. We got a little bit of detail work to do over there, but I'm just filling in this black area. Okay, I can come back in and just use the whiteout and maybe a little spatter and have some fun. All right, what I want to do is add a little bit of scroll work to her armor, so it's a little even more fancy. I know it's crazy. So what I'm going to do is just do these little swirls. And I'll just draw some lines. Just to try to make it a little bit even more fancy looking. Well, let's zoom out. You can see the fancy zoom I have is the crank on my stand. So this way we can see the whole thing. But this was very fun for me. Just sign it right here, even though no one's going to buy it. It's just for me. Unless someone who's on the stream, we only got a few folks in the room right now. If anybody would like this, I'd be happy to send it to them just for hanging out. So yeah, just let me know. But there's our 3 characters for the night, and that was a really fun free sketch session. I hope people got a little bit out of some of my character design techniques, just some of my thought process and things that I like to think about when I need to come up with somebody for either in front of the camera or in the background somewhere. These folks will show up somewhere because they are now in my brain, especially this one. Hey, if you wanted me to do this more often, I would love to do it. Just drawing free characters and stuff, and this is the fun stuff. So thank you so much, Jonathan. Thank you for the score updates. I'll probably start watching it myself, and I hope everyone has a wonderful evening. And I appreciate you being here, and that's not just saying it; it means a lot. There's a lot of things on TV, and you watch me doodle this picture. So thanks very much, and good night.